Hi, it's Mr. Gary again from Science Central. Thanks for sending in those questions about sharks. Hopefully I can answer them on the post. Mary asked what was my third favorite shark? Zebra sharks are my third favorite. I also had a young visitor ask about do sharks make bubbles? They do when they're on the hunt. Check out my social media post to see some more entailed answers. And Alex asked about the ampullae of Lorenzini, the electrical organ that sharks use to feel electrical fields in the water. I had a great question from our friend Mac, who asked, why does shark meat taste like pee when it's prepared? Well, that's a really good question, Mac, and not a whole lot of people ask me that. To understand that question, we have to look at a crazy word called osmosis, or the movement of water. Since fish live in water, and sharks are fish, we've got to look at how that water moves in and out of a fish's body. So I have an example here of how that works. So in my example here, we have freshwater fish. These are fish that you'd find around here, bluegill. So they have a lot of high salt content inside their body, and water likes to move towards that high salt content. So their water has a low salt content, since it's freshwater, so that water wants to move inside of that fish. If too much water moves inside that fish, it blows up like a balloon and explodes. So to get rid of that excess water, the fish, a freshwater fish, has a lot of pee. That's a lot of water. So it keeps that water in their body balanced. Now down here in a saltwater fish, there's low salt inside of the saltwater fish's body, but high salt inside of its environment because it lives in the ocean or a high salty environment. So that water inside of that fish, again, likes to go to that high salty area. So saltwater fish actually lose water from their body. So they've got to drink a lot of water so they don't shrivel up and become flat like a balloon. So to maintain that water balance, they drink a lot. Now a shark is what we call neutrally osmotic. So they don't really drink a lot of water, and they don't produce a lot of pee that has a high water content. What a shark does is it holds that salt in its pee, kind of what we call uric acid. And so that's why shark meat has the taste of pee, because it holds that salt in its pee so that water doesn't really move into the shark or out of the shark. Again, it's neutral to the way the water flows. Now, I've heard when you're preparing shark meat, one of the ways to get rid of that pee taste is to soak the shark flesh in milk for a while. Milk's a little bit basic on our pH scale, and it kind of draws that uric acid out of the flesh. So when you actually start preparing it, it tastes a lot better. I had another question on whether sharks needed to continually swim or else they would drown. Now this is a common question that I get. There are a few species of sharks that do need to continually swim, but there's over 375 different types of sharks, and not all of them have to swim constantly. There's a group of sharks that live on the bottom of the ocean, or bottom-dwelling sharks, that like to crawl around on the coral reefs, or they'll hide in the coral reefs. Some of them are what we call sit-and-wait predators, sharks like the woebegone shark and the angel shark that hide in their environment. Angel sharks actually bury themselves in sand, kind of like stingrays, and when a fish swims across the top of their head, they'll use their ampullae of Lorenzini and their keen eyesight to grab a quick bite of food. Now, the sharks that were in question here on whether they needed to swim all the time are mainly what we call pelagic sharks or open water sharks. Now, these sharks do have to swim constantly to keep water going across their gills. There are a few species of sharks that are like this that can actually stop swimming for a little bit, like the white-tipped reef shark. They have a little bit developed sphericals, which is the first gill right behind their eyes, that they can draw water in through and pump out their gills. They'll also use a quick trick. They'll find really fast moving currents in the ocean and ledges that they can actually lay down and rest on, and as the fast moving current goes across their gills through their open mouth, they can actually sit and rest for a while. Now the question also comes up, if a shark has to swim all the time to breathe, one of these pelagic sharks, or ram ventilators as we sometimes call them, how do they sleep? Well, sharks sleep in what we call a glide pattern. If you're ever at an aquarium, watch really closely. As the sharks swim around their tank, you'll notice that they're actively swimming with their caudal fin or their back fin. Watch them really closely to stop swimming with that back fin or actively moving it, and watch them glide. It'll only take just a few seconds, but in this few seconds the shark kind of takes a quick nap and then is back up right away, ready to start swimming again. It's one of the tricks that we have to overcome, or problems we have to overcome in the aquarium world. We have to give a shark enough room to be able to swim and glide so it can sleep, or they start having problems with not getting enough rest. Well, thanks for your questions for Stump the Scientist, and we hope to see you all soon at Science Central. Remember, science is fun!